listen, everything was not always peaches and cream for Ella Fitzgerald. She went through a lot of challenges, social challenges that she had to deal with. And I do want to place an excerpt from an interview that she did with Canadian Broadcasting Company. They were very interested in her words. And this is when Ella Fitzgerald was kicked off of the airplane because of her race.
You were involved in a lawsuit and sued an airline company for racial discrimination. Whatever happened to that? What was the outcome?
We won.
Did you? What kind of an award?
What kind of an award?
Yes. Was it a large settlement, small, or a token, or?
Well, I think actually what happened, we won a nice settlement, but my manager felt, Norman Granz felt that the important thing was to prove that our point, and to prove that we really had tickets on the airline, and also to prove that the fella that said that we were off, he was wrong.
Would you do that kind of thing again?
What do you mean, sue?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, if I think a person's wrong, if we think somebody's wrong, and actually our tickets had said all the way to Australia. And it just knocked us off. And it was only the three of us that they knocked off.
Yeah.
Good. Some of the dumbest questions, really? Also, go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, to give a little more, I guess, context there, she was trying to Australia for a concert series, and she had gotten first class with, I believe that John Lewis was also traveling with her in that.
Was her pianist, of course.
Yes, her pianist, John Lewis was another one of the folks, and they essentially had first class tickets. They were flying to Australia, and while they were on the plane, they got kicked off, and it was only her and her compatriots who are also Black who got kicked off, and so they sued the airline because that was very clearly racial discrimination.
Well, how much did you win, Ella? Really? Really? She won. They won. I'm going to say that. This is another example, Lady Ganssiry. And this is for women of the world. She dedicated that to the women of the world, and I wish I did know the translation.
Lady Ganssiry, jigéen. Women are the power of the world. We the power of the world. We the power of the world. Sisters and the moms. Sisters and the moms.
I had to put this passage, because it's a text about her first time singing, performing live, and it was to Ari Barroso. But I would like to ask if it's possible for a woman be reading this text.
You want to hear me stutter?
Yes, absolutely.
It's in English. Don't worry, it's in English.
Okay.
But thank you, Kathleen. I think it would be very interesting.
I'll do my best. One day I discovered that I sang. My oldest son, João Carlos, was dying, and I had already lost 2 children, and I didn't want to lose another one. I didn't have any money to take care of my son, and I heard on the radio that Ari Barroso's freshman program, Note 5, had hit the jackpot. I don't know how, but I knew I was going to get this award. I signed up, and they told me I needed to look good, but I had no clothes nor shoes. I had nothing, so I took my mother's clothes, which weighed 60 kilo, and put them on, but I only weighed 32 kilo. You see, I fixed it with pins. Okay, now it's fashion, right? Today, even Madonna uses it, but I started this fashion, see? Pins and clothes are very mine. It's Elza's thing. When they called me, I got up and walked onto the auditorium stage. The auditorium was packed. Everyone started laughing out loud, mocking me. Mr. Ari called me and asked, "What did you come to do here?" "I came to sing." "Tell me something. What planet did you come from?" "From the same planet you come from, Mr. Ari." And what is my planet?" "Hunger planet." Then everyone who was laughing saw that this thing was serious, and they sat very quietly. I sang the song Lama. The gong did not sound, and I won. I took the prize, and my son is still alive today, thank God.
Oh.
Since then, I always carry a pin with me. At that time, I thought that if I had food for my children, I wouldn't be hungry anymore. Time passed, and I was still hungry for culture, dignity, education, equality, and much more. I realized that hunger only changes its face, but it has no end. There's always a void that we can't fill, and maybe that's the reason for our existence.
Wow. That's very beautiful. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you so much. So I won't say anything. I'll just put the same thing that she sang during this audition.
Se quiser fumar, eu fumo. Se quiser beber, eu bebo. Não me interessa mais ninguém. Se o meu passado foi lama, hoje quem me difama viveu na lama também. Comendo a minha comida, bebendo a mesma bebida, respirando o mesmo ar. E hoje, por ciúme.
Hi everyone. Good evening. I'm glad to be here again to talk about samba and talk about more about the context of Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, the racial conflicts that are always present in the music, not only in the music, but it's the subject here, music. We talked about Clementina before. She was a really, really important figure in our Afro-diasporic music because she used it to sing and bring up this memory that was not written. It was this tradition which came from her mother, her grandmother, grandmother. So she's a really powerful figure and with a really powerful voice. There's nothing like her voice in our music. It's really unique. It was her last album, and she was already really old and a little bit sick, but she was, no, I have to do this because this album gathered this music that was produced by the slaves that was her mother, her grandmother. So she does this album as like a document of memory, music memory about that time. So it's really precious. She felt the importance of her role in the
Keep the tradition.
To keep the memory alive.
Yeah.
And people to know these things. So it's a really important album.
Muriquinho pequenino, muriquinho pequenino, parente de que samba na cacunda. Purugunta onde vai, purugunta onde vai, o parente pro quilombo do Dumbá. Purugunta onde vai, Pergunta onde vai o parente pro quilombo do Dumbá.
Yeah, Leci is a really special figure. She is a congresswoman, but she's also this woman that she used to say that she was like a natural activist, because she was not only guided by theories, nothing like that. She was talking about what she was seeing. She's making this dialogue between Brazil and Africa in this very critical, way. And me and Juan were really crazy about how we can follow what she's saying only by the music. You don't have to understand the lyrics. We can approach to what she's talking only by this mixing of rhythms, instruments, and it's a really rich song. And she's really, really important figure here, because she's a really strong woman. She was as Brazil was living a dictatorship, she told in the newspaper in 78 she was a lesbian. So this was like, oh my God, how a Black woman can say this. And she even today, she is doing her thing. She never stopped. And this we choose this song, but this is present in all her work, this dialogue between our Brazilian culture, African culture, and she is one of these singers that talks a lot about this Black pride, to be the pride to be African, Afro-Brazilian. So she is really important. And this was not so common, as I said, in the 60s and the early 70s. And she was really active, but not as this person, this intellectualized person, but as a chronist, and a very, very good one. And she doesn't have this formal study of music, and this is common in samba, but she does all these complex melodies and this music that is really something that you can't guess what comes after. It's really innovating. I'm really a fan of her.
Victoria Santa Cruz.
Tenía 7 años apenas 7 años. ¿Qué es 7 años? No llegaba a 5 siquiera. De pronto unas voces en la calle me gritaron negra. ¡Negra! 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 ¿Soy acaso negra?, me dije. ¡Sí! ¿Qué cosa es ser negra? ¡Negra! Y yo no sabía la triste verdad que aquello escondía. ¡Negra! Y me sentí negra. ¡Negra! Sigue negra. Negra, 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 negra. ¿Qué pasa, chiquitos? ¿Qué pasa?
Victoria Santa Cruz dirige desde finales de los años 50 distintos grupos de teatro y danza con negros peruanos. Desde 1971 dirige el Conjunto Nacional de Folclore, en el que ha reunido a bailarines y músicos de todo el Perú. usando como punto de partida las fuentes africanas, ha construido sus métodos de trabajo para el desarrollo del sentido rítmico.
Entonces, esto me hace comprender que lo negativo cumple también un rol. No quedarse con ello, sino ver qué hacemos con aquello. Y qué produjo en mí aquella cosa. Y cómo puede irse equilibrando algo hasta que hoy puedo decir, bendito sea Dios, que alguien me dijo negra para que yo comprendiera hoy que soy negra, pero no como ellos decían. Que soy negra y que formo parte de ese mosaico que es el hombre negro, blanco, amarillo, rojo. Mientras el rojo, el blanco, el amarillo y el negro no se den cuenta que son uno solo, jamás podrán descubrir qué es el hombre.
All right, that's good. You know, she's a very powerful voice in the struggle for recognition against oppression, against racism. She's very strong in that sense. She and her brother both were important figures during the late 60s, early 70s. So they would be somebody that I think you really want to get a chance to listen to her music and listen to her poetry. You know, she was doing spoken word before many people were doing spoken word in other places, you know, and she combined that with theater, which made her a very important voice.
Now, I mentioned earlier that Super Blue, Mr. Austin Lyons, had a very interesting connection with. It had a very interesting family connection, and that family connection we're about to see. One of his daughters, Fay-Ann Lyons, is the next person that we're going to be checking out, and she is also a soca star in her own right. But yeah, she's the only female soca artist to win the Carnival Road March 3 times at this point in time in her life, and so I thought that was really interesting. She is phenomenal. And she's also married to one of the artists that we heard a little earlier, Bungie Garland. You have this interesting family connections in the world of soca.
A new day dawning, inviting, calling. No time for stalling. Let's go, let's go. Wake up everyone who's sleeping. Meet me on the road.
The dance, Kaffir dance. The bibliography that I did recommend was the Blues Legacies and Black Feminism by Angela Davis. And for some of you that don't know about it, you know, I really, really would recommend reading that, because she basically looks at some of the issues that I was speaking of: sexuality, politics, traveling, you know, domestic violence, which we heard, multiple partners, which is what we heard, drugs, which is what we listened to. You know, Angela covered all these areas, but she focused on Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, and Billie Holiday.